Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Wham. We have a very, very special guest tonight. But before I introduce him, we will do a quick round of introductions of our Silverline staff here. My name is Barb Kilber. I am the creator of Divinity, inker for Cat and Mouse. I am the CFO of Silverline as well, and a host of other things. Martin?
Hey, I'm Martin, and I do coloring. I've colored for the wonderful book called Wolf Hunter, and we are always promoting our books. Cat and Mouse, K-List, the ultimate dad comic, Trumps, excellent comic sci-fi that's based on a card game. It's awesome stuff. So Sniper and Rook, which is John's book, which he's not here tonight. Here's Wolf Hunter, my colorist on that book there. So, and we got, of course, Divinity by Barb, the Empress of Inks. Now we are missing our venerable penciler today, but that's being made up for with wonderful colorist David Rios and Jose Fuentes. So, hello. Slinger of Inks. Hey, guys.
David,
introduce yourselves.
Yeah, quick introduction.
Sure. My name's David Rios. I am a colorist, done some inks way back when, very way back when. Been doing coloring, did back in 90s with Marvel and Malibu Comics, doing Ultraverse and different Marvel books and stuff like that. And now I'm doing some stuff with Silverline. So, and I'm also, along with Jose Fuentes, one of the hosts of the Tuesday stream. And,
but they wanted to meet Dennis, so they hopped on my stream.
Oh, definitely.
That's insane.
Jose?
Hi, Jose Fuentes. I am the inker of Obsoletes, Cat and Mouse Vipers. and going to be doing pencils for to finish off obsoletes as well.
Yay!
Oh, wow.
Like I don't have
Excellent.
a huge illustrious background like Dave, but I do enjoy what I do.
And for those who don't know, this is the illustrious Dennis Cowan. I've known him for years, but he's been in comics for longer than I have. He's been, what, 40 some years now?
Almost 50.
Almost 50.
Wow.
That is insane.
That's
Insane.
I
I've been
know.
35 for me, but then I started late in life. I was 29. You were what?
14.
14 when you started working. You started working in somebody's.
I was working at Continuity for Neil Adams.
Well, you started at Rich
I
Buckler's
really
studio.
started at Rich Buckler's studio at
Yeah.
first. My very first thing was at Rich Buckler's studio. I had a friend named Armando Gill who went to my high school in the High School of Art and Design. And I would just hang out with him at lunch because he could ink and draw. And he was like the best drawer I'd ever seen. So I just attached myself to him. And one day he said, "Hey, I'm going to meet a friend of mine, Ken Landgraf, and he knows Rich Buckler. You want to tag along?" That's all I needed to hear because Rich Buckler was my hero from Def Lock and all the things he had done. Fantastic Four, all that stuff. So I said, sure. I met Ken, who was working for Rich as an assistant. And through Ken, I met Rich. So I came on and worked with Rich as like the third assistant. Like I was so low down on the totem pole, it didn't even matter. So I didn't get to draw a lot, but I got to go out and get coffee and got buy people cigarettes and stuff. And
Sweep the floors.
yeah, sweet. I got to carry the portfolios to DC Comics for Rich. I did a lot of stuff. None of it involved drawing, but
That's anything to get your foot in the door. It's
so happy. It was like every day after school, schooling into 3, and I would just get on the train and go to Rich Buckler's place and work. It was like a dream. It was like a dream. He didn't have to pay me, but he ended up paying me in albums. It was the craziest thing. He would just give me albums. Like, oh, I can't pay you, but take this Earth, Wind, and Fire gratitude album. Take Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life album. Take Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run album. So he just turned me on to like just different music, just paying me off at albums and stuff. It was great.
But it allows you to get an inside view of exactly what the process is to create comics.
I learned very early on what it took to make a comic book page and what it take, what it really was and what it really wasn't. I learned about making deadlines, which is the most important thing, right? That's it, and then all the lessons come after that. You make your deadlines, don't fuck up, don't mess up, if you promise something, you do it.
Yep.
And you just try to be as dependable, as professional as you can. Nothing else. There's nothing else. That's it. That's the first lesson you better fucking learn.
I always tell people this. I wasn't the best inker in the world, but I never missed a deadline. Right. And that made me employable.
Right. So then editors go, checking that box, go, oh, Barbara, she never misses a deadline. Let me get her because I know it's going to be it. Pop. Done. So,
sometimes that's more important.
Yes. It's always more important. It's always.
I don't think many people realize what that comics is a business. And it's got to be run like a business. And if you don't meet your deadlines, then it throws off 10 people behind you.
Shit, we can get into it. Comic books are a business. It is a real business. It's also a business that will break your heart.
Yeah.
So it's important to manage it as well as you can in all the ways that you can. Because, there's a lot of people who did everything right. It's just a tough way of making a living, but it's so rewarding. We keep doing it, like we're crazy people or something.
I know, we keep coming back for more. God,
like we're not normal.
So
okay, 50 years, so I'm really not fucking normal.
Sorry. Can we touch on you said an interesting line, and I just want to explore it a little bit. Maybe you can expand on it. Is what comics is and what comics isn't. Can you expand on that a little bit? So what did you learn that what comics was and what it wasn't?
Well, I used to think it was about, drawing pretty pictures. I used to think it was about anatomy I used to think it was about pretty lines, but comics at its essence are about storytelling. It's the marriage between writing and art in a way that no other medium can do. No other medium, animation, nothing, magazine illustrations, pictures done by AI, nothing can do what comics does.
Ooh, you said the dreaded 2-letter word.
Yeah, it's what it is. I mean, we're all sitting down and we're drawing and we're coloring and we're inking and we're doing all this stuff, right? And then in the back of your mind, there's AI. And you're like, part of you is going, what the hell am I doing all this for when some jerk can just push a button, and get some results? Why am I doing all this? Well, anyone who's using AI to do anything like that has no soul. They're not artists.
Well, they can't put soul into that.
They're not artists. They're microwave maker people. When they sticking that shit in a microwave, they call themselves a chef because they're not. So they deserve the contempt that they get, which is hilarious. As they put around trying to defend themselves, like, get out of here. As I sit down, I think of the fact that AI cannot do what we do. AI has never gotten its heart broken. AI has never raised kids. AI has never struggled or been emotionally whatever. All that stuff that you put in your work, AI can't do. And that's what makes you an artist. That's what makes you an artist.
Divinity came about through grief. AI can't.
No.
Can't experience grief.
Mediocre. All you get is mediocre stuff. AI. A lot of it crammed together to be excellently mediocre. With no. So, I think about that and I just keep drawing. Knowing that there's no way that AI is going to be able to keep up with what I can do. Or what any of you can do. So, I just blank it out, keep going. Like try to mess with this AI. Go ahead. You can't. So that's how I've come to deal with that dreaded word and everything around it, and then post up every despicable thing I could think of it every time I see on Facebook. So
you are a justice warrior.
Yeah,
fire going. Right?
So
it's like, everything will, we've been through this before. I've been through Photoshop. I've been through it with all kinds of stuff with comics. In 50 years, I've seen a lot of different things. Keep your nose down. Keep drawing. F all that noise. For real.
Yeah, just keep plugging away.
Just keep going, until you stop, until you're stopped.
That's right.
Well,
your first published work, wasn't it in 1980? You did a 3-page story for DC's Weird Tales. How did you land that
story? God, probably Julie Schwartz gave it to me, or Joe Orlando gave it to me at the time. It's probably, you got to check the editor. It was one of those, because one of those two guys would give us starting artist assignments, and they were always 3 pages, 5 pages, and if you got an 8-pager, damn, you're almost like a pro. Yeah, you was rolling. So they would give me these 3 pages and 5 pages, and that's how they trained us. So I would get this script, cavemen in space or whatever they would have me draw, and I'd have to do the research, draw the panels. I would bring in these 3 pages, my precious pages that I slaved over in my grandmother's basement where I was living at the time, and I bring it into Joe Orlando. And he'd look at me, give a big sigh, like, why is this colored kid in my office again? And then pull out a piece of tracing paper, put it on top of my artwork, and then proceed to show me everything I did wrong on every single of those every panel.
It's brutal, but it works.
He would draw it in like thick, almost like thick pencil or something, and then give me the whole mess and take it home and go home and fix it. That's how I learned how to do comics. Julie wouldn't draw; he would just criticize. He would criticize and make me do it again and again, and then I would come in, hand it in. He'd look at me, okay, this is all right. And then he'd reach in his drawer and hand me another script. And that's how you knew that you did an okay job. They wouldn't even tell you, good job. No, there's nobody's holding your hand back then. Like you're lucky to get work.
That's right. Right. And you got ripped apart and you said thank you.
Oh, yes. And everyone took their chance to step up at the bat to rip me apart. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, in today's world, you don't have that. You don't have that kind of same thing. It doesn't.
Not much. The industry is different, and people's feelings are more easily hurt.
Yeah.
Back then, if you had feelings, that was something for Neil Adams to stomp on while he taught you how to draw. So
you and him were pretty tight, weren't you?
I went to work for Neil shortly after working for Rich. So I probably was like 15 or so, still in high school, in a high school internship program. I was extremely lucky to be at Continuity at that time. I was already kind of through Rich. I knew a lot of people. So that's probably how I even got that gig, that I found out about it. And I was on an inside track because I was already going to art and design. I already knew these people. Suggest me, Neil, and I'll come and work for you. So he did. And I ended up working in Continuity for the rest of my high school year. So I think I went there as a junior at Continuity and just stayed there through my senior year. I went back to school and got a kind of diploma, but I never really went back. I was already doing what I was going to school to do. So it was kind of dumb,
There's a lot of us that are self-taught.
Yeah. So, but Neil was an invaluable experience because it took me, I was at Continuity. I was working with Ralph Reese, who's an awesome artist, and a guy named Joe Brzezowski, and all the artists were there. Russ Heath was there. Gray Morrow was coming up all the time. Wally Wood would come by. He came up and cursed me out one time. It was great. I was like, awesome. Wally Wood just cursed me out. I was serious. Like I was supposed to make stats. He brought up Sally Forth stuff. He came up looking like Wally Wood in a crumpled windbreaker, the jeans, the sneakers, the whole thing. That smoking a cigarette, looking like the Wally Wood. And he came and he opened this big portfolio of Sally Forth material. And I was the stat guy. This is before computer scans and all that stuff. We would make stats of the material, which was a giant camera that would make photo ready, print ready copies of your work at the original size. So I'm supposed to be doing these Sally Forth things, and I did them and I fucked them up. And I think I printed them wrong or something. So Wally Wood looks at me and says, Neil, what is this shit? Get this goddamn kid out of here. Like, get somebody who knows it. So Neil looks at me like, why are you fucking up Wally Wood stuff? Get out of here. So I had to go, and they brought somebody in who knew how to do it. But I remember thinking I was so crazy about Wally Wood, and even the fact that I was in the same room with him, that I didn't care. I was like, well, can't do it, but Wally Wood just even addressed me a little bit.
He acknowledged my existence.
He says, get this fucking kid out of here. It was great.
That's funny.
So I worked around a lot of people like that, Jack Abel.
Speaking of Neil Adams, now most people know that you were involved with the Static Shock and Young Justice on TV. But
I was involved with Static Shock. I didn't do Young Justice.
Oh.
It was Static. It was Static.
Well, according to the International Movie Database, they have you wrong, man.
Look at that.
And according to them, you did in 1988, you acted in a movie with Neil Adams called Death to the Pee-wee Squad. I have never heard this.
And you will never see that movie, so don't worry about it.
Now I'm going to have to go out and dig it out.
I can't even. No, Neil directed. Neil was directing a movie, and he got the people at Continuity to act in it, and I was one of the actors. I forget who else was in it. It was a lot, and I did it because it was Neil's, not because I wanted to be an actor or do any of that shit.
But you made it into the International Movie Database,
which is
right.
Why? I just whatever.
What was your part?
I don't remember. I really don't. I think I was like a paid assassin or something. Like I was part of a group of people who were trying to kill these people, and this stuffed monkey kept getting in our way. Literally. That was the movie.
Stuffed monkey.
Yes, I can't. Why are you asking me about this?
Well, because it's unusual.
I think
more interviews with you if you're going to have stuff like this.
Because everybody's always asked you all the other questions.
Yeah,
I want the different
those
ones.
questions are good. I'm going to ask you about Neil Adams' movie. You know what a good person to interview about that would be Chris Adams. Christine Adams, his daughter. She'll tell you all about it.
I'm sure.
Did you get an axe in the chest in that movie?
I think I did.
Yeah, there's a picture of you getting the axe in the chest online. So I can
make
you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? I have never been one who wanted to be on camera. I have never wanted to do any of that kind of stuff. I'm reluctant about all this stuff. Barb had to talk me into this because I'm like, who wants to hear from me? And now I got stuff like that online. You know, like it's.
I don't watch my own podcast.
Here I am getting an axe in my chest. Great.
Yep.
Great.
I don't watch my own self online. I don't watch any of these podcasts.
I can't. I never look at myself. No, it's just too hard.
Well, you've done several omnibuses over the years. The Question in 2002, Moon Knight in 2023, or 22, I should say. Moon Knight in 2023, and The Question #2 in February of this year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like graphic novels or omnibuses are the wave of the futures? Are floppies dead?
Oh my God. Are floppies dead? Meaning like, is the online experience dead?
No, getting the regular floppies or people
regular
more leaning regular comics.
Say that. Okay. I don't know if they're dead. I don't know. But people like to binge.
Yes.
I binge my TV shows. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait a week for the new episode to come out. I'll wait until all the episodes are collected, if that's what it is, like Reacher. And then I'll just watch Reacher all the way through. I'm not waiting. I think people are like that about their comic books too. It's just a different way of consuming them. Let me just binge this.
That seems to be the way that people are thinking these days.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I haven't really thought about it too much or looked into what people I'm grateful to have all these omnibuses and compendiums and all that stuff. That's kind of neat to have. It's also a little unnerving because it represents all these years.
Yes. And plus they're digging up stuff that you've done years ago, and your style has changed since then.
Right. So you get to relive all your mistakes, is what it is. With these omnibuses and compendiums and stuff. But I'd rather they do them than not. It's good that people get to see some of this material.
I agree. I see a lot of the stuff. It's brings back a lot of memories and stuff like that, and you get. The thing that's also nice about the omnibuses, and some of the facsimiles that are coming out, are you also get to see all the really cool ads at the time.
Yeah,
the Stretch Armstrongs and
sea monkeys,
all the really cool stuff that comes with it. But I think I like about some of the trays and the omnibuses is it brings a lot of those stories and those history of the time. A lot of the stuff that I remember, like I remember being a huge fan of some of your stuff with the Question, and I remember the Deathlock stuff at the time, and it's like, this is really cool. It's like everything's kind of changed from there. But just a lot of the ways that the characters were represented. And I was mentioning actually when we were talking about this to Jose the other night, it's like I remember seeing like Deathlock, and at the time how he was, pretty much dead and reanimated and everything. And then watching him, J. August Richardson portray him on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where he looks like, he's just your guy that disappeared off the street and turned around and came back. And now he's this. It's like, you on a lot of these, reproductions, you get more of the flavor and the feel for how, you originally intended the character to be, and, how you played on a lot of that. And like with the question, just seeing a lot of the, the darkness and mystery that you portrayed when you drew him originally, I'm thankful that they're bringing that back, and it's allowing people nowadays to get exposed to that. So,
well, thank you. I mean, I like the fact that they did all these, but I have to be honest, I have not looked at any of them. Like, I have in my office, I'm in my office now, I probably have stacks. Yeah, I do. I have stacks of the compendiums. I have there's 3 compendiums and there's 2 question things. There's a bunch of stuff. I've done the covers for all of them, except the question ones, they used old covers. But for the compendiums, I did new covers. I get the books. I cannot open them up to look at them. I've open up and flip through them. Like, okay, this is pretty weighty. This looks good. And I put it down. It's just the weirdest thing. It's a thing with me where it's hard for me to look at my old work. Mm-hmm. Because I just see things that I should have done. I'm constantly thinking of the thing that I want to do next. So I hate going back in the past. Mm. And I'm certainly not going to look at it and start patting myself on the back of the wonderful work that I've done. That's not going to happen. So why am I looking at this stuff?
But have you ever had the experience of you looked at a piece of your own art and you went, who did that?
I had experience of looking at a piece of my own artwork and go, did I do that? Because I have no recollection of doing this at all. But and there's the piece, and it was published. But do I remember it? No.
I do that too.
It's weird, right? It's weird. Mm-hmm. It's like an out-of-body experience. It's like, the hell.
I was thinking, let me check my bibliography because I wrote everything. I kept track of everything. If it's on there, then I did it, I guess.
Well, I see that too, because as I go through, I have a box of things where I say, comics I did, and it's like I'm having to go through and flip through and go, all right, that page looks familiar, but it's not like
we can't have this conversation because you're really way too young for that shit. So
we're talking 90s and all that. 90s. I was there. I mean.
The other thing that happens is, oh my God. The other thing that happens is I'll look at something, occasionally I'll look at something I did that's old, and I'll go, well, it wasn't that bad. I guess it was okay, I guess it was okay that people liked this piece. And that's as much as I can do. And I gotta draw something else. I gotta move on.
So actually, this is really cool. Barbara's just brought this up. I actually remember going out of my way to buy this book because of the content of it and because it was written by a lawyer, I understand.
Yeah, Andrew
Vax. So can you talk a little bit about how this project came together and what?
Sure. Jeanette Kahn at the time was the editor-in-chief at DC Comics. She was really close to us, at Milestone and all the stuff we did. And this might have been even a little bit before Milestone, I think. What is this? I don't remember.
I think this came a little bit after.
Okay, it probably did come after. Whatever it did, it was through Jeanette Kahn's relationship with Andrew Vox. And she knew everybody. So she asked me would I be interested in doing this book. And I said, sure, I'll do it. I spoke to Andrew. His whole thing was child exploitation and the exploitation of women. And he was vehemently against all that stuff. That was his reason to live. That's what he wrote about. That's what it was. So I knew that working with him, this was going to be a mission. He wasn't really a comic book writer, but he wrote the novel. He wrote the novel of Batman, and he did it, and he wanted me to draw it. We got Neil Barrett to actually do the actual script. You see his name on the credits below, to do the actual script thing. And here's an interesting story about this. So Jeanette asked me to do it. Andrew Vox agreed. Neil wrote a script. We didn't even have an editor. I think Jeanette was kind of editing it. So I ended up drawing like the 2 issues of this book, but I got very little guidance on it. In fact, it was almost one of those things at DC that nobody was really paying attention to. Like it doesn't really exist because, oh, this is Jeanette's pet project, so it doesn't really exist. But one day I'd done like 30 pages of this thing or 25 pages of this thing with no input. And I walked in. Archie Goodwin was the editor, the editor at DC at the time. I don't know if he was the Batman editor. I don't know what he was, but I knew him from Marvel. I knew Archie. So I walked in and I said, and I had a stack of these pages and I dropped them on his desk because everyone was ignoring me about this. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this Batman story. Andrew Vox wrote it. I've done 25 pages and got no input, but I've done this and, I'm turning it in. So where do I voucher? He looked at me like, oh, shit, I got to deal with this. I mean, he literally looked at me like, oh, my God, what is this stuff? And then I remember him just putting his hands in his head in his hands and looking at all this artwork, clearly having no idea what this was. Oh, my God, I got this thing. So I quickly brought him up to speed, and then he proceeded to take a look at it, and he actually had to edit it. So I had done all these pages, and some of them got rejected by Archie. Some of them got changed. He actually, got into the editing of the book, and it eventually came out. But it was a project that was unusual. It was unusual the way it happened, but I'm glad it did.
Well, I have to say that one of my very favorite pieces of artwork that you've ever done is this one.
Oh, the Django.
I love the Django.
Yeah, thank you. An interesting thing about that Batman cover is that figure is what Todd McFarlane used for the Cowan Batman statue.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, that same pose. It's the same pose with the same cape and everything else. So if you find it online, you'll see.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is absolutely. You got Jamie Foxx down just perfect.
That was fun. That's me and my late friend John Floyd. And Reggie, I think, wrote the comic book adaptation, and did it off of Quentin's script.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked me to draw it. Reggie and Quentin wanted me to do it, and I had so much fun. I wasn't. Yeah, it was so much fun. It was just like a chance to draw Django. No one had seen the movie at that point, so I was just going with the reference that I had and everything else. It was great. I love Westerns. I'm not very good at them, but I like to. I like to try, and do them. Wish I was Garcia Lopez and I could really do it.
Black Panther.
Yes, the miniseries, the Black Panther miniseries. That was done in the 80s, right? That was one of my first miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Sam De La Rosa inked it. Peter Gillis wrote it. And I really wanted to do this story because it dealt with apartheid and, the oppression of Black people in South Africa. And the whole thing about what it meant to have your neighbor, doing all this stuff, and you call yourself a Black Panther and you're a leader, but like, what are you doing about it? So we just, Peter and I just got into it. So we did 3 issues. I worked on it really hard. And then I was called into the editor-in-chief's office at the time at Marvel. I've told the story before. And
I know who that is. Yes.
Yeah,
I know
and I was told, we're not publishing this. We're not publishing this Black Panther. And I said, I was taken aback. Why not? And I was told they sold a lot of comic books in South Africa.
And they didn't want to offend anyone.
This would offend people. So I was like, wow. Okay. So they shelved that project for years. So then I go on and I go to DC and I do several things. One of them is called The Question for about 3 years. And then Tom DeFalco approached me, the new editor-in-chief at Marvel.
I know Tom.
Yeah, Tom's great. And said, hey, Denny, would you be interested in finishing up the last issue of Black Panther? I'm dying at this point because I'm like, are you kidding me? I did that 4 or 5 years ago. Like, yeah, well, we've got 3 issues and it's in the can, and so if you just wanted to finish up that last issue, it'd be great. So if you guys look, I did that last issue, and the last issue of that book is in a completely different style than the first 3 issues because I had changed and developed what I wanted to do. So by the time I got to that point, it was different for me. The other thing I remember about this book, I'll share this because this is pretty cool. I'm at San Diego Comic-Con, my first one. Dick Giordano is escorting me around. I know nothing about anything. This may have been. I don't know if it was when we debuted Milestone. It could have been. It was like one of those weird times. But I'm up there, and I was with Dick Giordano, and we walked to a restaurant, and we passed by Gil Kane's table, and Gil Kane jumps up and says hi to Dick Giordano, and then Dick introduces me to Gil. Now I've heard all the stories about Gil Kane. I'm ready for this dude to put me to be superior. Not in any kind of race way, just because he's Gil Kane, and he can't help but look down his nose at everybody because he's Gil Kane. So I'm waiting for it. He shakes my hand. He goes, "Oh, Dennis Cowan, my boy." I said, "Oh, great to meet you." Then he proceeded to compliment me up and down about my artwork, about the Black Panther, the final issue of the Black Panther, all the things I did right, all the things I had learned from the other thing. My angles, the way I drew this, he was breaking down my work in front of me, in front of Dick Giordano, telling me how much I'm standing there stunned. I'm like, I don't even remember what I said. Hopefully I said, thank you. This is probably changing because I couldn't believe it. And he just put his hand on my shoulder and said, keep up the good work. You're going to be an excellent artist because of the work you're doing. Oh my God. Now, he may have not meant any of it. He was just trying to be nice in front of Dick Giordano. I don't know. But that's what I remember from that book. Like that was one of the highlights that Gil Kane, just was awesome.
Something that you and your brother from another mother, Bill Sienkiewicz, have in common is I love the way you guys do black and white.
Well, he's much better at it than I'll ever be. But I enjoy it. I love Bill. I love what he does. I was there when Bill got his first assignment at Marvel and DC. I was in a lobby of DC when Bill Sienkiewicz walked in to show his portfolio. I happened to be sitting in the lobby, and this guy walks in a plaid jacket and slacks and a portfolio. And he was there to see Julie Schwartz or whatever. I'm like, oh, this is interesting, whoever this guy is. Then I went to work from there. I went to Continuity like that day. And I'm sitting, my desk was right behind Neil's, and this same guy walks in with his portfolio. It was Bill Sienkiewicz showing his portfolio to Dick Giordano. I mean, to Neil Adams. So Neil takes Bill's portfolio. See, these are inside comic book stories. Look at you guys. So Neil takes Bill's portfolio, and all of us little munchkins are in the front office. So it's me, and it's Joe Barney, and it's probably Mike Nasser, who's the guy who really drew like Neil back there, a bunch of us. He opens the portfolio and he says, "Hey, come over here and look at this." So we all come over, and he's showing us Bill Sienkiewicz's portfolio. He's flipping through the pages like this giant portfolio like this. Look at this, look at this. And then he looks at me and looks at Mike Nasser, and he says, "See?" Then he looks down the pages. "See, he's doing me. He's doing Neil Adams, but he's doing it right." Which was why I was doing it wrong. I was like, oh my God. So I remember, I think Mike Nasser probably melted. I just remember thinking, well, I'm just never going to be any good anyway, because you got a guy who can draw like Neil and Neil. What am I going to do with my little self? And then Neil picked up the phone and called Jim Shooter. "I'm sending someone over for you to meet. His name is," what's your name? "Bill Sienkiewicz." "Yeah, he's coming on. I'm sending him right now." I'm off the phone. Next thing you know, he walks out with Moon Knight, right? And
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, your stuff is absolutely stunning. And here's one other black and white piece that I absolutely adore.
Oh, you're
Mhm.
so nice.
So I have a question for you. So between the end of your Black Panther #3 and the Black Panther #4 for that miniseries, I pulled it up online. Don't ask me where, but I took a look, and so you have a very dramatic shift that happens
Yeah, I told you.
and so what happened in that space? What like did you have a whole bunch of influences that came into play, or were you exploring other artists from other places? What was going on?
I had a bunch of influences that came into play. Like the first 3 issues of that book, I probably I was looking at a lot of Garcia Lopez. I was looking at Rich. People like that, more American comic book artists, Jack Kirby, of course, always Jack Kirby. John Buscema, like people like that. I was looking at a lot of their work, and it was really influencing me. And then I discovered in between the end of that time and when I started working on the question, my influences changed. So I found out about a lot of European artists that I'd never thought about before or gave any serious consideration. So I discovered, Jean Giraud for real and started looking at it. Guys like Sergio Topi, guys like Dino Battaglia, Paul Guillaume, the French artist. People like that ended up influencing me profoundly in what I was doing. And it's ironic because all they were doing was copying American comic books. They didn't have any comic books before that. They were copying American comic books and putting their own spin on it. But I love that spin that they put on it. So,
yeah, Martin had a podcast here a few weeks ago comparing American comics to European comics, and it was really striking the differences that we found.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of differences and some similarities. But in some ways, a lot of European comic books are throwback in a way to illustrating books and to illustrating comics and doing it in a classic style or whatever they're doing, putting a new spin on what we do. So after discovering that stuff, it changed my style. I wanted to draw a lot more like that. I wanted to do stuff, bringing that in. I managed to kind of combine some of those sensibilities with more American comics. Basically, they stole from us, so I stole it back. And that explains the shift in styles. That's what happened there.
Infrafan says, "Thank you for making the world a better place."
So I'll tell you an interesting story. What's the artist's name? There's an artist named Alberto Breccia. Breccia is spelled Breccia. You'll look him up. Awesome artist. Probably the most awesome artist you'll ever see in your life. So just forget it. All right. So I'm in Paris. And I've been exposed to like Topi and Guillaume and all these guys. And I was with my partner at the time, Chantal, who speaks French. And so I had gone to this place looking for like these great European comic books, the albums that I wanted to see, the black and white, the color albums I wanted to see. And we went to a place and all they had was Asterix comics and stuff like that. The cartoony stuff. I'm all the way in Paris and France. And I can't, and this is the biggest comic book store and they don't even have the stuff I want. The guy says, "Well, what are you looking for in the store?" I said, "Well, I'm looking for like a, Paul Guillaume, I'm like saying their names wrong, or Battaglia, like stuff like that." He goes, "Oh, you have to go to a store called the Tower of Babel. And it's, on Rue, blah, blah, blah." Chantal knew the address. So we get the address and we hightail it over there. Okay, I'm going to find this place. They have the books, the kind of the book I think that you're looking for, Mr. American comic book artist. So I walk in. There's a little old man standing there looking at some books. There's a younger couple shopping, and there's a proprietor of the store, the owner, and me and Chantal. We walk in. It's a small little place, and I say who I am, and Chantal introduces me. this is Dennis Cowan. He's a comic book artist from America and blah, whatever she did to try to get me a discount, right? And he says, oh, okay, well, the material you're looking for is in that box over there. So I walk over to this box that was on a table. It was this long row. I'm one of those long row, it's like a comic book box. And I'm flipping through this stuff. I have the books that I got there, here. Like, hold on. This is one of them. Right. This is one of them. You can't see it. Right.
Oh, hang on.
It says it's his sketchbook. It's Alberto Breccia's sketchbook.
Ooh, cool.
Right. I got that there. Right. This is old, and inside, it's literally just his layouts.
Oh wow!
Oh,
That's
beautiful.
dope.
Nice.
Everything like how he laid out.
So that's his thumbnails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just thumbnails, right? So I picked this up. I pick up like 10 books. But I discovered this guy, Breccia, he did this book called Mort Cinder. So I get this volume of Mort Cinder, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's great. He's better than Garcia Lopez. He's better than Sergio Topi. He's better than everybody. He's so great. So I get all the books of his that I could find in this Tower Babel bookstore in Paris. Chantal and I go up to pay for the stuff. The guy, the proprietor, goes, hey, you like his stuff, huh? You like Battaglia? I'm like, him and Guillaume, but this guy, I've never seen any work like this. This is the most spectacular artwork I've seen, and I love it, and I'm going to take it back to America and study it. He's like, well, that's good, because he's standing right by the door.
He's the old guy in the store.
It was Battaglia himself. This little old man standing by the door, looking at a comic book. I'm looking at him like, this can't be happening. Chantal, bless her heart, walks over and starts speaking to him. Well, he doesn't speak English, but he certainly speaks French, and she speaks French and Italian. So she introduces me. He shakes my hand. He looks at my stack of books that I have. He takes the Mort Cinder book. I should run downstairs and show you guys, even though I don't know how much longer we have on this, but takes my Mort Cinder book. He goes off in a corner. I'm freaking out because, oh my God, I just met this. I just heard of this guy. I'm blown away by his work, and he's standing in the place in Paris. What are the odds of any of this happening? Like 2 zillion to 1, right? So he comes back a few minutes later and hands me my book. I open it up. He drew himself drawing a comic book page.
Oh,
wow.
Dude.
The front of my book. And it says, to Dennis, por con effecto, Dino Battaglia. I almost died. He hands me the book, and he looks at Chantal, and Chantal looks at him, and Chantal says, well, thank you so much. He goes, would you like to have a drink? Chantal goes, we would love to have a drink. I don't know what they're saying, so I'm like, what's going on? She's like, we're going to have a drink with Dino Battaglia. I said, what? So we go to some French restaurant. I can't remember what it was, like a little cafe. We literally sit down. They order wine and cheese and bread. And he was such an elegant Spanish old world gentleman. And so he asked me, so how is Garcia Lopez doing in America? How is Jorge Zafiro doing in America? Like they were his students. Oh my God. They're doing great. I said they're at the top of the game, and he says good. He was like very, very proud of them. I'm like, fucking me. So after that, you couldn't tell me anything about European comic books or comic book makers or anything. Like that was my jam, It was so the change in style was profound because I had profound influences and things happened to me like that.
It was supposed to happen.
It was supposed to happen. It was meant to happen.
Right.
It was incredible.
Mhm.
Incredible.
Yep, it's
Dennis,
supposed to happen.
let me introduce Rob Davis, the venerable Rob Davis.
Sure.
Used to work on Star Trek. for DC. He's one of the regulars on here. He's a little late, running a little late tonight.
Yeah, I was driving to and from St. Louis and just got back a couple of minutes ago. And I got to get in and see Dennis Cowan.
Oh man,
I love his work. I got to.
Well,
Yeah, I was just going to sit here and bask.
Oh, please.
I really loved your stuff on The Question, especially. That blew me away when I first saw it. Just beautiful stuff.
Very nice of you.
So no,
you're never late. You're always on time.
yeah. Compliments are always on time, aren't they?
You always show up, say nice things.
Does Milestone have anything in the pipeline?
Yes. Yeah, we have a couple of things in the pipeline. Be on the lookout. You know, we're putting together a couple of books with the people at DC, which might surprise you. So they're good.
Right. Keeping these open.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Don't think we're still publishing with DC. You know.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. We're still excited.
So how does the world of Milestone work? Is that a imprint of DC, or is that something that you own and then DC distributes, or how does that work?
Well, Milestone, I own Milestone along with Reggie and Derek Dingle. We're the owners of Milestone. We share the IP with DC Comics. So while because they funded this thing back in the 90s, you know, and all this stuff, have a great controlling interest, they can't do anything really without us, you know. And you know, the few times that it was tried, it was a disaster. So, you know, a disaster creatively, and it wasn't even really correct legally to me. So getting that back on track has been important to us, you know. So how it works is, you know, we co-own the characters, we do the characters, and DC publishes them, and then we fight.
Of course you do.
Like the uses of the characters, and like, you know, where's our video games, or whatever you want to fight about, you know.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So I will say this though, when Milestone first came out, and I'm not sure how much of a hand you had in that process, but you guys definitely packaged your books in a very different way.
Yeah.
You guys did some really interesting stuff with your covers.
Mm-hmm.
Those books really looked really different.
They look different for a number of reasons. Yeah. If you remember back then, slick paper was all the rage, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that we didn't want to have slick paper. We wanted to have more of a nuanced, saturated color look. So we used literally different kinds of paper. We didn't use slick paper. We used like newsprint, but we had a whole Milestone new process. So that was one of the things that differentiated us from everyone else. Sometimes it was frustrating because everyone came out with, you know, image and all this stuff, and everything's flashy. And, you know, we're like dinking along with our color process. But I think at the end of the day, that material holds up a lot better.
It does.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
What? You didn't put any blood in the ink?
Yeah, right. Put blood in the ink.
And you guys.
That was one of the things. The other thing was, you know, we had a different approach to covers. We had a standard cover layout that we would use for everything. Like one of the things we did was, if you noticed, at the top of every comic book was a logo and a picture of the character. We did that because comic books were stacked in spinner racks, right?
Yes.
And all you could see is the top. So we're like, put a picture of the character at the top, icon of rocket, static, hardware, whatever. So that when you went and you saw it, you could see that picture, knew, oh, that's my book. We did a lot of things like that, you know, just to be a little bit different.
You used this. You used the gray cells, you know.
Yes. But that was for like the relaunch. So that was like a whole different thing. Yeah, that one, you know, that's a Deflock cover that I did. I did a Deflock cover. Look it up. Deflock number 1 looks just like that. Except we just did it. We just did an homage and did it with hardware.
That's true. That's
I
true.
really picked up on that because I'm like, it's the same cover. Yeah.
So you're gearing up for more stuff. Is
Yes.
there anything that you haven't done yet, project-wise, that you would kill to do?
That I would kill to do?
Well, maybe not kill, but
well,
an
murder somebody to draw a comic. You die.
what are you itching to do? What out there haven't you done that you is really itching at you to do? Is there anything out there that's doing that?
Not really. But I've done everything that I'm going to do. But
so your bucket list is filled. Okay.
I've been very fortunate. Like, I'm working on a Batman story, finishing up the last page right now.
Wow.
I love Batman. So I'm doing Batman 150. It's 150th anniversary issue or something like that. I've done Django, I've done Westerns, right? I've done, I've done The Question. I've done Costume Heroes. I've done Guys in Suits. I've done a whole 50 years is a long time, so there isn't much that I was dying to do that I didn't get to do.
Okay.
I know that there's work in my future. I'm working on a couple of things that I haven't even announced yet. I can say that Bill Sienkiewicz and I have worked on a couple of things that have not been announced yet. But the world,
that'll be interesting.
The world will see.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm doing some passion projects, but for me to sit here and go, man, there's this thing that I've been fucking do.
I think that's the question. Yeah, but
and I just, no. I have a couple of projects that I'm working on that I was dying to do, but now I'm working on them. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, very good. But they're the ones you can't talk about, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, you'll have to come back and talk about them.
I want to be like Rob Liefeld. I was like, what is this Evangeline deal that he's talking? What is this? And turns out, because I know how this stuff works. Did you see on Facebook? He's doing Evangeline with Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Right. It's a big deal. But those things take, like he said, he's been sitting on that news for like months, and it's taking years to do it, to put the thing together. That's how it is.
Yeah, and by the time it finally rolls around, everybody's forgotten about it.
Yeah, everyone's forgotten about it. So
yeah. You're only as good as your last project, basically, just like anything in entertainment.
The point being, it just takes a long time for this stuff to gestate.
Yeah.
I'm working on
now. We know.
Yeah, right.
We know here.
Oh yeah, Rob and I are on a top secret project we've been working on for a while for Silverline.
Secret.
No. Yeah.
We like to tease about it, but that's about all we do. We showed a little bit.
I wonder. I've often wondered, because like this stuff I'm working on is top secret. How much people really even care? Who really gives a like? If I said what it was, are people going to be like, oh? That's the biggest news ever. Well, no. Will they forget it probably, in the next 10 minutes as something more important, like whatever they're doing next takes over their lives? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not that important.
We like to assign importance to our lives.
Nonetheless, we'll do that.
I prefer the drip method.
Yes.
Tantalizing. Here's a little bit. Oh,
yeah.
We'll show you.
This is what
we'll show you this, and he will show you this.
Yes. That works.
Does anybody have any more questions for Dennis before we wrap it up for the evening?
I have an off-the-wall question. What's the significance of the guitar hanging on your wall behind you?
It's my guitar. I have. You don't see them all. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like 5 guitars in my studio.
Okay.
Sounds like my son.
I play, but I'm not really good. I just play songs, dink along, but I love music. I just love keyboards, a set of keyboards in here. I'm like, you just try to express yourself creatively in all the ways you can while you're here on this, to do it. And if it sounds horrible, so what? Who cares? No.
Great.
That's how I make
Great
it.
answer.
So, I'll be the worst sounding comic book artist ever.
I'm sure you're not the worst.
As long as you can visually represent the music.
There's a number of comic book artists who are also musicians, like really great guys. Larry Hama's a musician. Dave McKean is a musician, a very accomplished.
Steve
musician.
Lealoa.
Steve Lealoa is a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Garney.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up Ron Garney. Not only is
I did not know about Ron Garney.
Ron Garney is a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's working with Keanu Reeves. Oh, and he also plays in a band. And I'm like, I wrote him like, is there anything you don't do? He's like, so
Max Allen Collins.
Yes.
He actually had a garage band in Muscatine, Iowa, and I was raised about 14 miles away.
Oh wow!
And his garage band actually played at my high school prom.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it was like a few years later, I was working in comics and I met him in Chicago. I'm going, didn't you play at my high school prom?
I did a bunch of Miss Tree covers for he was doing Miss Tree for BC.
Yeah, Terry Beatty. Yep.
Terry's my cousin, by the way. Terry Beatty's my cousin.
Really?
I did not know you were related.
Talented family.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, speaking of music, did you do? Just remind me. Maybe I got the wrong person here, but did you do a comic book about jazz, or a jazz-related comic back in the 90s?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So
I did the somebody else.
I did the Prince comic book back in the
90s. And did a good job on it too.
Oh, thank you. So nice.
And you got to? Did you get to meet him in it at all?
Well, here's what happened. I get the job. Dwayne and I, Dwayne wrote it. I drew it. Prince had to approve everything, so he approved all the stuff that we did. Kent Williams inked it, so Prince really liked it. But I never had a conversation with him ever, never. But one day we get a call in our offices at Milestone, because I did it while we were at Milestone. This is like one of the things we did while I'm doing hardware and everything else, right? And it's from Prince's management. And they're inviting us to a concert that Prince is giving. And it was a private concert in Midtown Manhattan. And if we wanted to go, we could show up and it's going to take place in an hour, blah, blah, blah. Our names at the door. So Dwayne and I and Derek, I think, hustled our way to this club, Midtown Manhattan. We opened it up and the place is full of high school students. And Prince, it was a small, intimate club. Like, it wasn't Palladium, it was like a small place. And Prince was basically giving a private concert for these kids that nobody knew about. They put us right in the front row, while I watched Prince do his whole thing. Maybe I'm 10 feet away from the stage.
Wow.
Looking at him, my mind blown. What am I looking at? So he does like 4 or 5 songs. Kids go crazy. I guess they're filming the thing. I don't know what's going on. We get hustled out. And then a couple of days later, we get another invite. And this one is to the Palladium to see Prince in concert. This is all after us doing the book. I go to the Palladium. I think I took Chantal. We go to the Palladium. I'm in the audience. I watched the whole thing. It's great. It's Prince giving all his new material. Vernon Reid from Living Color comes out, plays guitar with Prince. Then Lenny Kravitz comes out and plays guitar with Prince. So we both close the show. I'm like in black rock heaven. Like, this is the best ever. And I literally over the years thought that because it was so impossible that I had dreamt the whole thing. Like, that couldn't have happened. I didn't really see Lenny Kravitz and Prince on stage. I didn't see any of this stuff. Then a friend of mine on Facebook writes about his experiences in the 90s and talks about that concert that he went to at the Palladium that night where Vernon Reid and Lenny Kravitz came up with Prince and did this whole thing. And I'm thinking, yes, oh my God, I didn't dream it. It actually
it was real.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. We're running
Well,
over a little bit, but nobody minds it.
Talking too
I
much.
want to thank Dennis for indulging me, because he really did say that he's very shy on these things, and he is indulging me. And thank you, my friend.
Well,
I really, really appreciate it.
Anything for you. So, and
So
well,
we always,
Benjamin, and thank
Yeah.
you guys.
we always go off the rails a little bit. We try to stick to a script. Never happens.
No, we never go off the rails. No.
Oh, well,
So-
It's all planned that way.
So the things we picked out tonight are that look for new Milestone stuff coming out somewhere in the future.
Yeah.
There's a passion project with Bill Sankovich floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
And there was one other project, right? That's kind of somewhere in there. So
There's several media things. There's stuff going on, but I don't even part of not wanting to talk about it, not to jinx it. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, can't talk about it. You'll jinx
I don't
it.
even want to bring this stuff up, because if it doesn't, then like, oh my God.
I used to never tell anybody that I had a project until it was on my drawing board.
Yes.
Then I'd say I'm working on it, because something would always happen.
I had too many rugs yanked up from under me to do that kind of thing.
Actually, send me a check, and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Wow, that sounded nice.
When the contract comes in and everybody's signature on it,
right?
Okay,
And then
we're
it was
good.
good. I'll promote the hell out of it. Let's get into it.
That's right.
Nah.
Well, everybody,
All
as
right.
we like to say when we close down the show,
Thank you.
make mine Silverline.
Mine Silverline.
Hi, I'm Chris Olm. I'm the former editor-in-chief of Malibu Comics. Make mine Silverline.
Wait a minute. Don't touch that button. I've got big news for you. You guys remember the book, Silverline Team Up? Well, number 2 is happening. It's happening. And we are having a launch party on Sunday for the regular Sunday stream. So, mark it on your calendars right now. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Silverline Team Up number 2 launch party. Be there.